there have never been times like this before. So people that say we've been through this before, well, you haven't. I get to work with some very powerful and important people. It's very hard out there, and it's not going to get easier. Now let's go back to the Gita. Yeah. Now, in the Gita, our protagonist has two choices, bad and worse. Two choices, bad choice and a worse choice. Well, what is he told by Krishna? He's basically told, look, it is what it is. You have to face the reality that exists. You can't hide from this hard reality. You have to face it. Once you face the hard reality that exists, then you ask one question: how can I do my best in the middle of these hard times? Well, as coaches, this is my advice for you. It is hard out there, and it is not going to get easier. This is not going to get fixed in 2 or 3 weeks. We're not going to get back to normal just like this. This may take years. One of my friends is one of the most famous restaurant people in the world. Every one of his restaurants is going bankrupt. The #1 restaurant in New York City just went bankrupt. Neiman Marcus just went bankrupt, one of the top stores in America. It is hard out there, and it's going to get harder. As coaches, as human beings, we need to face this reality. Don't hide from it. Face the reality that exists. Now, I'm going to ask you all the question. How many of you have either felt this or heard this before since this crisis? The following. You know, one good thing about this crisis is I realize I did not need all of that stuff. I realize I did not need all of that stuff. Raise your hands. Yes, many of you have your hands up. Let me give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is we don't need all of that stuff. Look at the fancy shopping mall. What in that shopping mall do you need? Nothing. You don't need these things. There's some very good news. We don't need all of that stuff. There's some very bad news. The global economy is all of that stuff. All of that stuff you don't need is called the global economy. It's called discretionary spending. And discretionary spending, and I hope I'm wrong, my prediction is going to dive. It is going to be very tough out there. My first advice for you coaches is face the pragmatic reality that exists. Now, many of you coaches have heard other coaches say the following: oh, things are better than ever now. I have many alternatives. Life is so good. And that makes some of the other coaches feel ashamed or guilty. Hey, if somebody's telling you everything is wonderful out there, good for them. That is definitely not true for most coaches in the world. Do not feel ashamed. Do not feel guilty. This nonsense of, oh, everything is wonderful. No, it's not. Everything is not wonderful. And the coaches that hear this from others, it's either bullshit or they're very lucky. And by the way, and also they're probably somewhat insensitive, because when people say that, they don't think about how that may make the other coaches feel whose jobs are not going so well right now. So #1 for the Gita, you have to face what is. What is. Make peace with what is. #2, it's tough out there. My advice for every coach in this call is job 1, take care of yourself and take care of the people you love. Take care of yourself and take care of the people that you love. It's good that you're doing good deeds. It's good that you're trying to save the world. Don't forget to take care of yourself during these hard times and take care of the people you love. That's very, very important. Coaches on the whole are very nice people and very good people. It's very easy to get so involved in thinking about others that we forget to take care of ourselves and the people that we love. So a message I have to every coach on this call is please take care of yourself, and you please take care of the people that you love. Now, very tough out there, face the hard reality that exists. I'm going to teach you something called pragmatic optimism. Pragmatic optimism. You need to be a pragmatist. You can't be Pollyanna. At the same time, you can be an optimist. How did I make the best of it? In the Gita, what is Arjuna told? It is what it is. Do your best. It is what it is. Now, let me give you an analogy that I'm going to use in my next book called The Earned Life. Imagine that you're a golfer. I'm not a golfer. Yet my friend Mark Ryder, who does books with me, is a golfer. Imagine you're a golfer. You're playing for the championship of your club. You want to win. The golfer in front of you is drinking beer, making loud noises. You're very annoyed. But you keep playing. You're doing very well. You're almost finished. You hit a drive. The drive goes right down the middle of the course. You feel happy. Your golf ball hits a beer can that's been left on the course by this idiot. It careens off into the rough. You now have a terrible lie. You're incredibly angry. You walk toward the golf ball. The great golfer has to learn one thing: let go of the past. You've got to forget about the can. You forget about the other guy. You forget about the shot. You forget about winning the tournament. You don't focus on the future. You do one thing. You hit the shot in front of you. You hit the shot that is in front of you. You focus on one thing: hit the shot in front of me. Now, first you have to have a strategy. Let us imagine that you're one shot behind and you're going for the victory. It's unlikely you're going to make it to the green in one shot, yet you're going to try. Why not? Why not? I don't care about coming in third or fourth. If I hit a bad shot, it doesn't matter. I'm going for it. That's okay. Imagine you're 3 shots ahead. You pitch the ball into the fairway, you get a bogey, and you still won by 2 shots. That's okay. Either way, you develop a strategy. After you develop a strategy, you breathe and you hit the shot in front of you. Now, today, everyone in this, not everyone, many people on this call, despite the happy face that you put on for the world, many people on this call are going to be or are experiencing hard times. It is what it is. Don't hide from it. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't pretend it's going to be easy. You're not going to happy think this away. You face the reality that exists, like the Gita. You face the hard reality that exists. Whatever happened, happened. You let it go and you hit the shot that's in front of you. Now, one of the members of our 100 coaches is a fine man named Harry Kramer. A very funny guy, very nice guy. Harry was, at a young age, the CEO of a very large company called Baxter. Funny story about Harry is he was the CEO at age 41. By age 50, his ego got a little in charge of him, and he told the board of directors one day, he said, well, if you're going to tell me to do those things, perhaps you need a new CEO. The board of directors called him 1 hour later and said, Harry, you gave us great advice. He said, what advice was that? We got a new CEO. It's not you. Goodbye. You fired the guy. He's a wonderful guy. Just had a little bit of ego problem for a while there. Well, now he's a great teacher. He's a great thinker. He's a writer, and he's raised millions of dollars for charity. He's a wonderful person. Harry taught me a great lesson that's very appropriate today for every human being in this crisis. Harry was asked a question. The question is, how do you live with yourself after you have to fire people? You have to lay people off. You have to make these hard decisions. How can you sleep at night? He said something very profound that's very similar to the Gita. He said, I asked myself 2 questions. Question number 1, did I do what I thought was right? Did I do what I thought was right? And question 2, did I do my best? Did I do what I thought was right? And did I do my best? And if the answer to those 2 questions is yes and yes, take a deep breath, smile, and make peace. This advice is right out of the Gita. Do what you think is right, do your best, and that's all you can do. Now, I'm sure many of the coaches on this call at a human dimension are saying to yourself, oh, I wish I'd saved more money, or why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that, or I could have done something else. During this period of crisis, I'm going to give you some hard coaching. There's one person you need to forgive before you forgive anyone else. Who is that person? Yourself. Now, I want everyone to look up here. I want you all to smile. I'm looking at many of your faces. Smile. I want everyone to take a very deep breath. I want you all to go, Hand. Yeah. Yeah, all of that upset, anger, forgiveness, let it go. And another thing you learn from the Gita is it's not fair. Everyone raise your right hand. I can't hear you, but I want you to repeat after me. Let's see. Raise that right hand. I want you to repeat after me. It's not fair.
It's not
fair. That's it. Make peace. It's not fair. What do you learn from the Gita? It's not fair. It's not logical. It is what it is. Make peace with what is. You do your best. Every leader I coach, what do I teach them in the middle of these hard times? You do your best. You do what you think is right at the time, and you make peace. Next, what advice do I have for leaders? That was question number 2 from Inderjeet. For leaders, I'm now going to teach you a very simple process that I've done with 7 CEOs. In my coaching, I do not pay it if they do not get better. I get paid every time. This is called the 6-question coaching process. Now, here's how it works. On a regular basis, each leader needs to talk to each person they're leading and cover 6 basic questions. Question number 1, where are we going? The big picture. Where are we going? And then you say, here is where I see us going right now in the middle of this crisis for our business. Here's where I see us going. Then you ask the person a question. Where do you think we should be going? Because you want to have alignment between you and the other person. Question 2, where are you going? I would say, here's where I see you and your part of the business going. Then you ask a question. Where do you think you should be going? Question number 3 is doing well. Here's what I see you and your part of the business doing very well. And then ask the person a question. What are you proud of? What are you proud of right now? What do you think you are doing well? What do you think you're doing well? Now, that's a very good question to ask during these periods of extreme challenge. A lot of people are doing very great things. And it's very important not just to focus on what we can do to solve a problem and what's going poorly, also focus on the good news. Focus on what is going well. What do I think? What do you think? And if you ask that question, what do you think you're doing well? What are you proud of? You may learn new information. You may say, gee, Vivek, I didn't know you were doing those things. I didn't know that. So thank you for telling me. I should recognize my team. Then the next question, suggestions for the future. And those of you that know me know I'm a proponent of something called feed forward. Focus on the future more than the past. We cannot change the past anyway. How many of you have been impressed by your wife, husband, or partner's near photographic memory of your previous sins, which have been documented and will be shared with us on a regular basis? Well, you know what? We can't change the past. Focus on the future. Say, moving forward in the middle of this challenges, here's ideas I have for you for the future. Then ask the person a great coaching question. If you were the coach for you, what ideas and suggestions would you have for yourself? If you were the coach for you, what ideas or suggestions would you have for yourself? A very good question. Now, again, I can mention the names of my clients. One of the clients I work with is George Borst. George was CEO of Toyota Financial Services, a huge multi-hundred billion-dollar organization. George was a little skeptical about asking people question 4. If you were the coach for you, what ideas might you have? He thought they would say fluffy things like, I work so hard and I'm so dedicated. I have trouble balancing my life. Mostly nonsense. He was surprised. He said, people brought up very deep points. And he said more than half the time when he asked this question, his reply was, I thought you should work on X. After listening to you, I like your idea better. I like your idea better. Let's work on Y. Question number 5, how can I help? During this period of crisis, what can I do as your manager to best help you? And finally, question number 6, What ideas or suggestions might you have for the future for me? What ideas or suggestions might you have in the future for me? 6 basic questions. Now, the key to making what I just taught you work is called mutual responsibility. Mutual responsibility. Have the leader then say to the direct report, look, I am going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to help you. I'm going to do my best to be clear. We're going through periods of rapid change. I want you to help me. If you ever feel overcommitted, if you ever feel unclear, if you ever lack direction, I want you to immediately talk with me. Because if I do my job of laying out these basics and you do your job of following up with me on a regular basis, there is no reason we will not have alignment. Now, during periods of rapid change, this next comment is very important. Leaders need to let people know the strategy of today may not be the strategy of tomorrow. As a leader, you need to say, I have to be very direct with you. At any second in time, I want you to have a good feeling, to know where we're going, to know what's important, to know what priorities are. These may change next week. The world is changing very rapidly right now. I cannot promise my strategy of today is going to be my strategy of next week or next year, or much less 5 years from today. Things are changing very, very rapidly. Here's what I want, though. At any second in time, I want you to have complete clarity on what is the strategy now? What are the priorities now? What's important now? What do we think is going well now? What are our challenges now? What are we doing moving forward now? At any second in time. So back to the golf analogy. The person hitting that shot, they need clarity. What is my strategy? What do I want to do? Then you need to help them. They've got to let go of the past. We waste so much time talking about stuff we're not going to change. How about Donald Trump? Is anyone in the room actually going to change Donald Trump? I don't think so. Let's all smile, take a deep breath. How about Indian politicians? Are any of you going to change any of the politicians in India today? Yes, let go. There's a million things you're not going to do. Do not waste your energy on what you're not going to do. Focus on what you can do. Now, in my book, Triggers, I have one question that's very good during this time of crisis. And then I'll go back to my next question from Inderjeet. Peter Drucker taught me a wonderful lesson that is 20% of my income for my coaching career. I have to repeat this lesson over and over and over again to people with MBAs from Harvard who do not get it. This lesson is one that takes a long time to internalize. Here is the lesson from Peter Drucker. Number one, our mission is to make a positive difference, not to prove that we're smart and not to prove that we're right. We are not here on earth to prove that we're smart, and we're not here on earth to prove that we're right. We are here to make a positive difference. Learning point number two. Every decision in life is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. Every decision is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with it. Decisions are not made based on logic. My engineers out there, decisions aren't made based on logic. How many of my engineers have told people this? I think your comments are illogical. Yeah. And do they love you because of this or in spite of this? No, in spite of, a very bad idea. Decisions aren't made based on logic, and they're not made based on fairness. Decisions are made based on one variable, power. Whoever has the power to make the decision will make the decision. So Inderjeet, if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there's one word to describe you, and that word is called customer. There's one word to describe me, that word is called salesperson. He doesn't have to buy, I have to sell. Yep. Peter Drucker taught me this. In life, you sell what you can sell. You change what you can change. If you can sell it, you sell it. If you can change it, you change it. If you can't sell it and you can't change it, you let it go. Before you deal with any topic, this is very good during the crisis, ask one question. Am I willing at this time to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic? Am I willing at this time to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic? If the answer is yes, go for it. And by the way, no matter how big it might be, look at Mahatma Gandhi. He was willing to make an investment to make a positive difference. He did. Nelson Mandela, it could be a big topic. It could be a small topic. The point, though, is, am I really trying to make a positive difference? If the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, smile, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Only focus on what you can change and make a positive difference. If you're not going to change it anyway, do not waste your life. Okay, Inderjeet, enough for now.
Yes, Marshall.
Another question.
Thank you, Marshall. These were really great tips for individuals as well as leaders. So you know what, when we ask people to sign up, we ask them to give us at least one question that they would like to ask you. Okay. And I have compiled them, and there were so many questions, and I've taken a crux out of them. So my next question to you is, in this time of crisis, what is one thing or what advice would you like to give to the coaches?
Well, I believe coaching is a wonderful profession, and coaching is a terrible business. Coaching is a wonderful profession, and coaching is a terrible business. Most coaches are very bad at marketing. So I'm not going to give your coaches content advice now. I'm going to give you marketing advice. Most coaches are terrible at marketing. Now, let me give you coaches, you are the product. And many coaches have problems with building their brand, and they have problems with self-promotion. Now, you coaches out there, how many of you have ever had this little thought in your mind? I should not have to promote myself. My good work should speak for itself. My good work should speak for itself. Raise your hand. Have any of you coaches had this thought? Yes. My good work should speak for itself. This is a very silly thought. If your good work would speak for itself, no company would need a marketing function. No company would need a marketing function. Why do marketing? Just do good work and it will speak for itself. Now, I hate to tell you this, but it is statistically unlikely God is going to fly out of the sky and recognize you for your good work. Yes, God may have better things to do this week than to recognize you for your good work. Yes. Who is responsible for you promoting your own brand? That would be you. This is not someone else's job. This is your job. Now, as we journey through life, we confuse two things: internal validation and external validation. I'm going to write about this in my upcoming book called The Earned Life. Internal validation is, I want to do great work, and that's important. And the reason you want to do great work is you feel good about yourself as a human being. You have integrity. You're professionally proud of what you do. You look in the mirror and you like the person you see. That is the reason you want to do great work. External validation is, I'm recognized by the outside world. There is sometimes a very limited correlation between internal validation and external validation. And many of us go through life thinking, I work hard, I do good work, I should be recognized by the outside world. Not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. You have to look at these as two separate things. You want internal validation to feel good about yourself. On the other hand, you want external validation so you have work, you can impact others, and you can make a difference in the world. Both of these are important, they're just different. Most coaches are very good at internal validation. You do good work, you're proud of yourself, you do high quality work, and are terrible at external validation, terrible at marketing and whatever. They have this stupid shame and guilt and all kinds of problems. Let me see, I'll randomly call them. So your name is Lily, is that correct there? Lily, can I see your face? Yes, Lily. Lily, how would you feel about this statement? I'm going to do my best to make Lily famous. Would that make you feel good or a little embarrassed? Yeah, well, it's good, you see? Yeah, now let's take this. most people would feel ashamed to say that. Well, I don't want to become famous. No, it's nothing is in this for me. I wouldn't want to be famous. Well, if you were more famous, would the world be worse off or better off? If you were more famous, would you make less of a difference in the world or more of a difference in the world? Well, the answer is you'd make a lot more difference in the world.
Yeah.
So guess what? Try to get famous. Now, maybe I'm missing something here. On the other hand, if you get famous, you can make more of a difference in the world. Number one, you get paid a whole lot more money. Number two, and you could do good deeds like this for people for free. So there may be a negative to getting famous. I'll be honest, I don't know what it is. Now, let me give you some good marketing advice for your coaches. Number one, build a brand. And you need to have a brand that's clear and simple. My mission is, Marshall Goldsmith, helping successful leaders achieve positive long-term change in behavior. That's all. I don't do everything in the world. I do that. I am the world's expert at that. I don't do strategy. I don't do marketing. I'm not David Allen. I don't help people get organized. I just do that. If you do a Google search, in quotes, helping successful leaders, in quotes, the first 500 references, 450 are about me. 50 is about the rest of the world. I won. Brand. Build a brand. Figure out who you want to be. Peter Drucker told me the brand should fit on a t-shirt. Figure out who you want to be, have a clear brand identity, and realize that an important part of your job is marketing. Now, this was important before the crisis. After the crisis, only about 5 times as important right now. It is going to be about 5 times as important right now. Marketing is going to be critically important for you as a coach. And by the way, some coaches are saying, well, I still have business. I can do things online. It's just as good as ever. You're playing out existing contracts. Once companies start laying people off, let me help you, they're not going to hire coaches. They're not going to lay off their employees and hire a bunch of coaches. It's not going to happen. The coaching business is going to get hammered, not in the short term. In the longer term, the coaching business is going to get hammered. Got them. The speaking business has already gotten hammered. I wrote off $1.5 million worth of speeches this year. The speaking business got hammered. That's the way it is. The coaching business is going to get hammered. Marketing is going to be critically important. The other reality is every coach is not going to make it through this. Every coach is not going to make it through this. You need to be one of the coaches that survives. First, have a clear brand. Have a clear brand. Develop a value proposition for the client. Let them know, here's what I can do to help you. Also, you're going to have to be more flexible. It's not like it used to be. You're going to need to be more flexible. You're going to need to be open-minded. You're going to need to develop a value proposition, a clear identity. The other thing is build alliances with other coaches. Build alliances with other coaches. Now, in my life, as I mentioned, so many people have helped me. Peter Drucker has helped me. Warren Benn has helped me. All these great thinkers, Francis Hesselbein, Richard Beckhardt, they all helped me. Now, got him. How many times have I dropped Peter Drucker's name? Thousands. Thousands in my life. Thousands. Francis Hesselbein's name. All of these names. Paul Hersey, over and over. And you know, it's very interesting though. Did any of those people ever send me hate mail and say, you know, Marshall, I hear that you keep saying good things about me. You know, Marshall, you say those good things about me over and over again. Quit doing that. Have anyone ever sent me notes saying, quit doing that? No. They send me notes and say, thank you. Well, if I can help you in any way, drop my name. You and Marshall just had a nice talk today. If I can help you in any way, drop my name. I've dropped lots of their names. And by the way, as long as you say something good, drop away. Don't say bad things. My old mentor, Paul Hersey. I went to work with Dr. Hersey, and he got double booked. And he said, can you do what I do? I said, I do not know. He said, I'll pay you $1,000 for one day. I was making $15,000 for 1 year. You know what I said? I'll try. I did a program. I was very successful. I went to work with him. I said, how could I sell anything? I've done nothing compared to you. He said, use the word we. Use the word we. We have done many things. We was 99.5% Paul Hersey and 0.5% Marshall Goldsmith. Guess what? It still worked. My first book, The Leader of the Future, names on the cover, Peter Drucker, Francis Hesselbein, Richard Beckard, and me. Who was I? I was nobody. Nobody. After my sixth book with them, guess what? I was one of them. Well, get to meet great people, use the word we, develop as many great relationships as you can, and do whatever you can to build your own brand. And face, like the Gita, you're not in a good situation. For many of us, it's hard out there. Face the reality that exists, and then you say, I am going to hit the shot in front of me. I'm going to do my best to hit this great shot in front of me. This is all I can do right now, and keep focused on that as a coach. Okay, Inderjeet.
Yes, Marshall. Thank you so much. You have interestingly spoken about some of your role models and mentors, and I would love to ask, that's my next question. You have taken some names, but I would like to be a little more specific about it. Who are your specific role models and how have they impacted your life?
Well, one is a wonderful woman named Frances Hesselbein. Gautam, you've met Frances Hesselbein before, haven't you? An amazing woman. She's now 104 years old. Winner of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Has just gone out of her way to be nice to me and kind and helpful. And again, Peter Drucker, who I spent 50 days with. I was on his advisory board for 10 years. Paul Hersey, Ken Blanchard, Warren Bennis, just great thinkers in our field. And my clients who've been role models. Alan Mulally, who's one of the greatest leaders ever. Clients of mine who really, although I'm supposed to coach them, I actually learn far more than I teach. By the way, Inderjeet, none of these people have ever charged me 1 cent for the help they gave me.
Wow.
None of those people ever charged me 1 cent. So why, as an older fellow, do I want to give things away? Because of them.
Thank you, Marshall.
Okay, next question.
So my next question to you is, what is the key to great coaching? As we have all, the audience is literally coaches here. So what is the key to great coaching?
The key to great coaching is very simple. Great clients. The biggest problem of every coach that I've trained thousands of people to be coaches. The biggest challenge of every coach I've trained is the ego of the coach. We want people to get better so we can look in the mirror and feel good about ourselves. It is very hard to get over our own egos and realize coaching is not about the coach. Coaching is about the person being coached. In my role of stakeholder-centered coaching, I don't get paid if my clients don't get better. Better is not judged by me or them, it's judged by everyone around them. Well, what have I learned? The client I spent the least amount of time with improved the most. The client I spent the most amount of time with didn't improve at all. I made a chart for you IIT engineers in the room. I made a chart. On one dimension, it was called time spent with Coach Marshall Goldsmith. The other dimension was called improvement. There was a clear negative correlation between spending time with me and getting better. I thought, well, this is very troubling. So I go talk to my client who improved the most, who I spent the least amount of time with, my friend Alan Mulally. Alan led the turnaround of Ford. The stock went from $1 to $18. He had a 97% approval rating from every employee at a union company. Everyone loved him. So I said, Alan, of all the people I've coached, I spent the least amount of time with you and you improved the most. I showed Alan my little chart. I said, Alan, the way this chart looks, had you never met me, you would really be good. So I said to my friend, what should I learn about coaching from you? 2 lessons. He said, lesson number 1, your great challenge as a coach is customer selection. If you pick great clients or if you pick great customers, your coaching process will always work. If you pick the wrong customer, your coaching process will never work. 2, don't make coaching about yourself and your ego and how great you think you are. Make it about the wonderful people you coach and how proud you are of them. Then he said, As a CEO, my job wasn't that different. I don't design cars. I don't build cars. I don't sell cars. I must have great people. And every day I drove to work, I tell myself, leadership is not about me. Leadership is about them. For the great individual achiever, it's all about me. And everyone in this room is a pretty great individual achiever. For the great coach, I'm going to help you. It's not all about you. It's all about them. It's not about you. It's about them. You can't make people that don't care get better. I'm often asked a question, how do I motivate people to take the coaching process seriously? And the answer is, I do not motivate anyone. I don't try to save anyone. I've learned a very hard lesson. My name is Marshall Goldsmith, not Jesus Christ. I'm not in the savior business. I'm not in the savior business. I'm in the helping great people get better business. And if they don't care, you know what? I don't care either. If someone comes to me and says, prove to me this works, you know what I would say? You know what? I think you're right. For you, I do not think it will work. I think it is a total waste of your time. Thank you for sharing. Goodbye. Goodbye. So, by the way, why did I always get ranked #1 coach? Do you think I'm arrogant enough to believe that I'm somehow better than every other coach? No. I always got ranked #1 coach because I have spectacular clients and they brag about me all the time. That's it. And by the way, let's face reality that exists. All those books I wrote. Okay, I want everybody to write down a number. I'm going to ask you a question. Amazon has 30 million titles. I want you to write down a number. How many books do you have to sell to be in the top half of all books on Amazon? There are 30 million books. How many books do you have to sell to be in the top 50% of all of those books? Write that number down. Just write it down on a piece of paper. Now we'll see how well you did. Inderjeet, do you know the answer?
No, Marshall. I don't know.
Give me a guess.
Okay. At least 15 million.
15 million. Inderjeet, you're a little off. Do you know how many books you have to sell to be in the top half of all books on Amazon? Two. Somebody said 5. Yeah.
Okay.
2 books in 1 year. If you sell 2 books, you're in the top half.
Oh my God.
Half the books in Amazon last year sold 0 or 1 copy. That's all. Half. If you sell 2, you've made it to the top half. I am not so arrogant that I believe my book is better than 15 million books that sold 0 to 1 copy. Many of those books, I'm sure, are far better than anything I've ever done or anything I ever wrote. No one read the books. Probably many of the best books ever written were never published. Well, I'm not so arrogant to believe that my books, I have 2 of my books on Amazon, top 100 books ever written in the field. I'm not arrogant enough to believe that these are actually 2 of the best 100 books ever written. There have been thousands and hundreds of thousands of books written in my field. Now, hopefully they're good books, because I like to write good books because I want to write good books. So hopefully they're good books. But I'm not so arrogant to believe they're the best books ever written. I have a degree in mathematics. That's not possible. People know who they are, though. They know me. They know the books. So as a coach, really, you need to separate these 2 things. Quality, internal validation, and external validation. Don't confuse the 2. And when we confuse the 2, we feel like victims, we get angry, it's not fair. And by the way, for some of the women on the call, sometimes the women have the opposite problem more than men. That is feeling like an imposter. Everyone tells me I'm so wonderful, but I'm really not that wonderful. That's called the imposter syndrome. Neither one of those makes any sense. Don't confuse the 2. You only get confused in your mind when you can confuse praise from the world with doing a good job. 2 very important topics, 2 very different topics. Separate them in your mind. Your life is going to be much better and you'll be a lot happier. And by the way, one other thing most coaches don't realize, both of these are your jobs. If you write a book that no one reads, why did you write the book? Did you write it for yourself? Why did you bother to write the book in the first place? People say, well, I don't care that my book is a bestseller or not. Well, why don't you care? Are you trying to communicate with other people or are you just talking to yourself? Well, you should care. If you want to communicate with other people, you should care. So 2 different things, both part of your job. I hope this is useful to the coaches on the call. Okay, Inderjeet,
Yes, Marshall.
what's a good question?
Thank you so much. This is really so helpful. I'm glad that coaches are getting benefited. And again, these times are very uncertain times and very difficult ones, as everybody thinks and feels. So how does one, as a coach or a leader or an individual, how do you think one can remain mindful?
We all think of mindfulness as a spiritual or mystical experience. I look at mindfulness in a much more practical way. You know, Inderjeet, I really would like to be mindful as I journey through life. There's only one problem I have with really maintaining my state of mindfulness. What is this one consistent problem? I forget to be mindful. I forget. I have to carry a little card around. Be mindful. Because if I don't, I forget to be mindful. On an average day, I evaluate how mindful was I. I probably scored 25 or 30%. I don't even deserve that. I'm giving myself high marks, I'm sure. Well, every day to maintain my own mindfulness, I go through my daily question process. I write down a series of questions every day. Someone calls me every day, and they remind me to do every day what I know is important. Now, why do I do this? Someone asked me, why do you have someone call you every day? Don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior.
Right.
That's why someone call me every day. My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I got ranked #1 everything in the world many times. I have someone call me on the phone every day just to remind me to be mindful and to remind me of what I'm supposed to do every day. Why do I do this? My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I am too cowardly to do this stuff by myself. Too cowardly. I don't have the courage. I'm too undisciplined to do this by myself. Too disorganized. I need help. I need help. And you know what? It's okay. The other final thing I'd say for all you coaches out there, we all need help. It's not just our clients need help. Look, I need help. You need help. All this macho nonsense of I can do it on my own. If I could do it on my own, I wouldn't have somebody call me every day. We all need help. Now, let me close by saying this. As I've grown older, my level of aspiration in life has gone down and down and down. My level of impact has gone up and up and up. I quit worrying about what I'm not going to change. I have one goal on this call, and one goal basically for me. It's very simple. My goal is to help you have just a little bit better life. And as a coach, to help you help those people you work with have a little bit better life. That's all. That's all. If anyone on this call today, you have just a little bit better life, this is a good phone call. This is a good Zoom call. When you help others, you can't make it perfect. You can't make this crisis go away. You're not going to solve every one of their problems. If you look in the mirror and say, you know, today I help some people have a little bit better life, my advice is smile, take a deep breath, be happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you so much for sparing your time for all of us. And it's such a wonderful opportunity to listen from you, see you in person. Thank you so much, Marshall.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.